Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Talks with Kalpana, CXO Spotlight on CXO TV. Today, we are exploring one of the most important themes in cybersecurity gap assessment, which is all about how leaders prioritize the highest impact improvements with the lowest incremental time and cost. To discuss this, we have two distinguished leaders with us today. Mr. Lalit Trivedi, Global Head Information Security and Data Protection Officer at FlexM, and Mr. Saurabh, co-founder CyberVigilens and CTO at GBV. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kalpana. Good to be here.
Thank you. So, Lalit, let me begin with you. You have seen cybersecurity evolve across markets and regulatory environments. According to you, what are the biggest pressure points technology and security leaders are navigating?
See, in this current scenario, if you watch, because technology is changing day to day, we're getting new threats every day. So it is more challenging for all tech leader or cyber security leader to sync between the record demand requirement and the technology. So, and to overcome this, I think gap assessment is one of the best area where every technology leader can look into. And this is not the one-time activity. So once you create a gap assessment, you make sure that you monitor regularly in case any new gap created or new gap based on the threat or a technology which is not able to detect. So this is the area. I think there's a continuous assessment. It's not a one-time thing. And the all the area in case of your technology, cyber security, as audit management, in case of access management. So these are all the critical area where I think every cyber security or tech leader has to look into and sync in all the areas. I think to minimize the gap and threat.
Yeah, sure. So now cybersecurity gaps exist in every organization, even the most mature ones. From your viewpoint, how should leaders approach prioritizing these gaps? Like, kind of what gets fixed first and why?
Mm. So this is based again on the risk assessment. Once you prioritize the risks or risk category is defined in the organization in the area of high, mid, and low level, and wherever gaps come, so first priorities can be high, then mid, and the low level areas. So this is the strategy I think every tech leader has to follow.
Yeah, sure. So, Saurabh, coming to you, like you work hands on with BFSI and fintech teams every day. So, where do you see organizations unintentionally leaving security gaps, even when they believe their environments are well controlled?
Especially when you talk about BFSI and finance, uh, there are internal teams and there is a hesitation to let a third party or an external or an independent person look at the IT infrastructure. So once that is done, so the in-house teams have their own priorities and cybersecurity values or beliefs, which is, let's say, called inbox. But they need to have some external views, validation, out of the box validation also. So that's where I see the gap. So organizations need to be open to let a third party or an independent auditor or an external person come and have a look at cybersecurity and give their opinion. The BFSI organization may or may not agree with it, it's their call, but they have to be open to review. What I have found with a lot of fintech companies, BFSI, anybody who is developing for banking or finance sector, is that they are very restricted and they don't typically permit or allow or encourage outsiders to look at the code or the infrastructure, which I feel is risky because then they are limited to their own beliefs and understanding.
Sure. So, Lalit, do you have any take on this?
No, I think right, because when we do anything in house, so we are sure that things are working and we don't see the area where actual gap exists. So I think third party risk assessment has to be there to minimize the gap, find out the gap and close the gap, and to avoid any threat which is unknown to internal team or tech leaders.
Yeah, sure. Especially when security leaders today increasing attack surfaces.
Yeah.
In that environment, how do you identify improvements that deliver maximum impact with minimum incremental effort?
See, I think I can divide it into two areas. I think, I can divide into two areas. First, we can have some in-house team because for each and now there are various technology tools. So skills is a biggest issue, and we cannot recruit the team for each and every technology. So there we can divide into two parts. Some of the team or technology we can manage in-house, and some of the critical business and technology operation we can have outsourced, like NOC, SOC, and I mean, a regular review, I think in internal team can do. We can build that skills at internal, and sync between external and internal. I think we can manage this kind of scenario.
Absolutely. So, sort of coming back to you, many organizations today run overlapping tools like NGAV, DLP, XDR, CSV, and so on. There are so many more. How should they rationalize and extract more value from what they already have?
Kalpana, very good question. See, cybersecurity has become a very vast field or ocean now. So there are just so many acronyms: CASB, DLP, ZTNA, whatnot. And when we go for a product, many companies are now trying to give many of these features as a part of single product. So if I go for a next gen antivirus, along with next gen antivirus, I may get XDR, I may get maybe some DLP, some other hardware security. So whenever we are going for a product, we have to look at what are the features that we get for this product, because sometimes the products will come with all features enabled. Then I should try to leverage as many of them. Sometimes we get option to pick and choose. So there is a customizable bill of material of features. So when I order an antivirus, I can choose whether along with that antivirus I want XDR, whether I want SIM or not. Whatever we have actually purchased, our goal should be to ensure that we try to maximize the usage of those features before we try to purchase a new tool or a new product. Definitely, when we do gap assessments for the customers, we have realized even if you look at something as basic as a switch, modern switches and firewalls, they come with a lot of features as simple as VLANs, port security, and storm control, spanning tree protocol properly configured, and we find gaps there. So any single IT product that we take, or especially cybersecurity product, when on the ground we check, we have found that they are not being fully utilized by the organization. So while the investment has gone into purchasing it, all this purchase cycle, evaluating a product, taking the finance approval, adopting it in the organization, there are more values to get from the same product. So if we review all what we have, and then we see whether we are utilizing all the features or not, and that's where what Lalit ji has also mentioned, right? Not everything can be done in-house, right? So we let an expert look at it, or we let an external person look at it, see what we can do in-house, what has to be outsourced, right? Because sometimes these are one-time activity, we deploy and then it's almost autopilot. Sometimes these are periodic activities, so every quarter or every 6 months somebody has to do something. So based on tool to tool, we should have clarity on what are the features. If a single feature is there in 2 or 3 tools, we have to look at the market opinion, which one of them serves the best, and then use that particular tool for that feature. So even if I purchase 3 products, fortunately, unfortunately, all the 3 products have the same feature, then I just simply pick one of them. No point in implementing it 3 times. It's just more overhead on the IT team and on the infrastructure. So that's from my side.
Yeah, so thank you so much. That was quite a practical insight. Okay. So, Lalit ji, coming to you, coming back to you, let's move to the resilience part of it. So, how should organizations rethink backup strategy, recovery readiness, and endpoint hardening as part of gap assessment cycle?
Okay. So first, let me focus on some hardening side, because hardening is a basic requirement when you deploy any endpoint or any servers or create any virtual machines. I think hardening is a basic thing where we close the basic gap which is not required or which is unwanted or not need to deploy at a end production. I think first we need to close that thing. Then second most strategy is a backup. So backup can be planned based on daily, weekly, monthly, based on the criticality of data. And same time you make sure that you have multiple version of backup, where any backup is infected through any malware or any antivirus through. You make sure that you have one safe copy or clean carbon copy which you can utilize to restore your backup. And for this purpose, I think there are various tools or product available in the market where we can evaluate time to time and which provide best service. I think that can be utilized for this purpose and safeguarded.
Sure. Thank you so much,
Mhm.
Lalit. Companies make in backup or resilience architecture, and like what must they absolutely avoid?
Kalpana, a very good question and very important point on backups. What I have seen is uh, once the backup is initially deployed, there is kind of a assumption or compulsion. What you call organization feels safe that that they have backups and they don't revisit it, they don't revalidate it, they don't harden it, and there is no verification of restoration. Right. So there are multiple things that have to go right with backups. We can never be complacent. We have to be always on our toes for backup. Backup is our last line of defense. See, even the Fortune 500 or even if you take Fortune 50 companies, tech giants, they also get compromised, right? So nobody, even a hyperscaler, is not safe from a cyber attack. For many organizations which are way smaller than a Fortune 500 company, the IT teams are small, the budgets are small. Our last line of defense is backup. So no matter how advanced the attacker is, if my backup is air gapped, if my backup is immutable, unless the attacker is physically walking into my premise, I am more or less safe. Even in case my production machines are impacted, I have an option to restore from backups. So we should have the 3-to-1 backup, one on-site, one off-site, one probably air gap, do immutable backup, and very, very regular checkup of backups. So since it's not practical to restore all the machines every month or every quarter, what we recommend is to keep a list that, okay, these are my, let's say, 30 workloads, divide it into 4 parts, let's say 7 to 8 workloads. And every quarter, we should restore the application and ask the application owner or the main user or admin user of that application to use the application and check whether it's restored properly or not. Right. So it's just not enough to look at the backup health or backup email report. Very, very critical. Are we able to restore? We know how to restore. And is the restored application meeting the requirements of the actual end user who owns the application? So we should immutable backup, air gap backup, 3-to-1 copies. All this applicable security to backup much more hardened, right? Like not adding to Active Directory, separate physical hardware for backup, not getting access to backup administration, sitting at desk. I should walk into the data center. All of this, but very, very important, periodic restore, right? So that all our backups have to be very verified and very high confidence that no matter what happens to my organization, I will always have reliable backups to restore. Right? That gives a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, sure. So, one question to both of you, like, how much helpful is cyber insurance?
Mhm. See, cyber insurance nowadays it's becoming popular, but it is not that easy like way people is thinking, or some people element compare with life insurance with cyber insurance. Cyber insurance is very different and quite critical. There are various points or various or hundreds of points which have to define each and everything of your organization before you go for the cyber, because that is the basic or minimum requirement for cyber insurer to define or how much claim you want. Based on that, there will be various parameter, and parameter will be start from infrastructure to access management, your cyber security, whether audit management, backup management you have on prem or cloud resources. There are hundreds of parameters you have to define, and once it's satisfied, then you can go for the cyber insurance, because it is not that easy that every organization can go for cyber insurance until and unless you have basic thing or basic minimum requirement in place. So still, it has demand. People are large organizations going for cyber insurance, but yeah, there is a big activity or exercise we need to do on that.
Yeah. So, what's your take, Saurabh, on this?
Kamna, one very big advantage I see of cyber insurance is it gets my infrastructure validated through an insurance company. See, we have certifications, but we are paying certification body to give a certificate to us. So unless I have a huge gap, they normally, they are friendly and they overlook some of the gaps so that, I get certified. So if I go for some kind of, like say ISO 27001 certificate, unless there is some kind of a major non-compliance, I would have engaged the auditor. We are paying something to the auditor. Most of the time, they will, give us some suggestions how to pass the certification audit. Compared to that, bank is completely different. The auditor who is coming from bank, he is not my friend. He wants to protect the bank's interest, and bank's interests are protected if I am very good in my cybersecurity. Not just implementation, also processes, right? Are we actually reviewing the physical entry logs? Are we looking at biometric? Are we looking at CCTV? How is our temperature control? A lot of other parameters that bank auditor will look at, and I cannot just ask him to overlook something, because he will be liable tomorrow for if there is a lapse, and bank has to pay amount. So getting cyber security insurance quote itself gives you a very high overview of how good you are. If my premium is very high, then I know, okay, I am lacking a lot of controls, and bank also feels risky to give insurance to me. But if my premium is very low, very competitive as per the industry, or the size of the business, or for the size of amount that I'm insuring, then that gives high confidence, that even the bank auditors have come, whom I can't influence, and they also agree that my cybersecurity practices and implementation and processes are good. So definitely everybody should look at cyber insurance. They should get a code, and if possible, if organization management aligns, they should go for it also, so that during the attack we are not dealing with too many things, right? There is always a financial impact of a ransomware attack or a cyber attack. Cyber insurance at least offsets it, so that while I am facing a IT attack, I am not worried about my finances. There is some money coming up from the insurance which will help, take care of the losses that I am incurring as part of the cyber attack.
Right. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for that. So, if you had to pick one or two non-negotiables that every CIO or CISO must prioritize, what would?
See, first thing I think we can see the regulatory things becoming very strong or strict day by day. And then once we talk about regulatory, it comes under either infrastructure, day-to-day operations, cyber security. Everything's part of the regulatory, because the process and what they are implementing to, and they want standard across the industries. I think this is the one of the non-negotiable. And that second, organization level, I think CXO has to be vigilant. What is happening? What's status? What happening in the industries, and whether we are mature enough to handle that kind of threat or any incident happening in industries at our organization level. So it's a comparison, and most visibility has to be there for each and every. Otherwise, technology and that I think everybody can implement and can manage. But these are the critical areas I think has to be monitored.
Yeah. So, Saurabh would love to hear your perspective as well on this.
So, Zubna, definitely agreeing with Lalit ji on this. See, we have to be compliant to the legal norms or various compliances that our industry is through. I'll give you one example. Earlier, the log retention period was only 6 months. But now, recently, the law is changed, and every organization has to maintain 1 year of logs, right? So when these kind of laws changes, we have to be compliant, and we have to check, are we actually storing all the required logs for 1 year and not just 6 months. Once we are compliant to the customer related commitments, legal laws, etc., then comes back to the gap assessment, right? We get an external person, have a look at our infrastructure from all points. It could be firewall, it could be backup, two-factor authentication, encryption, whatnot. And then we'll see where we are doing very well, where we need to improve, and then the cost benefit ratio, right? Because there is a cost associated with all cybersecurity purchases or implementation. If we, like Lalit ji mentioned, right, risk assessment, if there is a high risk, and if that high risk can be mitigated with some reasonable expenditure, then that is what we have to plan. And these things are very volatile. They change year to year. 2-3 years ago, nobody would have talked about AI security. There was no AI security in place, but now every organization is to worry. Are the employees leaking confidential information through AI tools? Am I simply taking the PDF and Excel, putting it on ChatGPT and asking it some question, without realizing that ChatGPT can keep that information, train its model, leak it somehow, etc. Right? So these situations change year by year. So every year we do gap assessment. We see where we are good, where we are lacking. Then we prioritize based on the cost benefit ratio. This is after we are compliant to the legal laws.
Yeah. So, Lalitji, one last question to you. What are your tech priorities for the coming year?
Okay, my big priority first, we are working on various regulatory things like ISO, GDPR, SOC 2. Some because we are in a fintech, so we are working on ISO 20022 also. That is some payment.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.